But Melinda Ferguson joins us. She's on the line. She's an author and journalist. Thank you, Melinda, for joining us.
Hello, Clarence.
Right, Melinda, at 11:15, and you're welcome to be part of the conversation, 072-567-1567. Your book, When Love Kills. I've mentioned earlier that the Tembe family, according to a News 24 story, have distanced themselves from your book. Why would they do that, Melinda?
Clarence, I've been asking myself a lot of questions the last few days. There's been an absolute furore on social media, a lot of media reports. There's a lot of confusion, I think, that's going on. Most people were commenting before they even read the book. The book only really hit the shelves Joburg 2 days ago. It's probably in Cape Town by now. I think that at the moment there are people that are really scared of what I've written in the book. I don't really want to comment on what the Tembe's motives are for that, because that's their own story. The Forbeses have also. I think people need to be clear. I didn't write a celebrity adulation memoir about AKA. That's not what this book is about. So I don't particularly need, I think, as a journalist, to get permission from either families. That might sound heartless, but no journalist in writing about the death of Anele Tembe or the death of Kiernan Ford asked permission from anybody when they wrote stories. What is interesting for me is that people have all kind of been screaming about the fact that I've written the book, but the media have been reporting on the story for ever since Anele Tembe died in April 2021.
I hear you. So are you saying you're in the crosshairs of both AKA's fans and the Tembe family?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Are you in the crosshairs of both AKA's fans and the Tembe family?
I mean, at the moment, it feels like I'm the most hated woman in South Africa. I'm sure there'll be someone who beats me to that title soon. But I feel like a lot of people are very emotional about this story. I have myself written what I believe is a very compassionate story, a kind of modern-day Romeo and Juliet, two star-crossed lovers, both of them who were beautiful, talented, amazing young people. Anele Tembe, much younger than Kiernan Forbes, about 11 years younger, and who are both now tragically dead. And I was very drawn to the story because I am someone who is drawn to pain, tragedy, because I've had my own experiences as a recovering addict. There was a time when I was lying on the streets of Hillbrow, nearly dead. I am very drawn to darker stories, and I also wanted to find out what had happened in that room at the Pepper Club on the 11th of April, on the 10th of April 2021, when Anele Tembe allegedly committed suicide. There's been a lot of noise around that she never killed herself and that she was pushed. My book tries to create a sense of who these two characters were, who these two young people were, how it all went so wrong. So I do think that there are a lot of people that are very invested in this story and that sides are being taken. I also think there's a very good chance of a publicity campaign being orchestrated against me, a kind of an attempt to discredit me. I feel at the moment like I'm the messenger and people are shooting me. And I'd love people to read the book, make your own opinion, see what I've done there, and then I think I would love for people to really start talking to me, because all of the noise before the book has even been read seems to be a bit absurd to me.
Yeah, I hear you. And some of the content that has reached me is about you locating AKA on that rooftop where she jumped or was pushed from. You've also spoken to some witnesses, somebody across the road who
Yes.
witnessed firsthand what had transpired. What did he say? Or should we just read the book?
I think read the book, but I would like to say that Rob Stefanatu was incredibly helpful for me as a person to engage with in the writing of this book. He is like, in a way, the only witness, even though he didn't actually see whether Anele jumped or whether she was pushed. What he did here at just after 7 in the morning, he was sitting across the road in his own apartment across the road from the Pepper Club. He heard the most terrible screaming of a woman. He said he thought someone was being murdered on the street below. He was watching morning news on some station, and he jumped up. As he heard the screaming, he heard the most loud bang, as though someone had been shot, but it was in fact Anele Tembe's body falling onto the street below. And then he ran to the balcony. By the time he ran to the balcony, Anele was already on the street. AKA at this point saw Rob Stefanato. AKA was on the balcony. Rob never saw AKA, which is interesting. But AKA saw Rob, and I believe that AKA might have wondered whether Rob had seen him.
Okay.
Because then AKA doesn't go down to the street. I mean, the love of his life. For me, this has been the most disturbing part of the story, is that the man who had literally just got engaged, who had paid Lobola to marry Anele Tembe, does not go down onto the street to check if his fiancée is alive, if she's dead. He goes to the room next door. Rob Stefanato instead runs and gets downstairs and does CPR on Anele Tembe, who's not dead, who is lying in pieces, well, in a mangled heap on the street below. And he's the man who tries to save her life.
Yeah. What you've established as fact, though, is that in the lead up to that particular moment, there was a lot of arguments. You've also established as fact that the relationship was a toxic one. How did you establish that?
Well, I mean, there's enough evidence. I mean, as fact, you see AKA bashing through a door, which is screenshots of a video after Anele Tembe died. A few weeks after Anele died, the Sunday World, I think, released these screenshots of AKA bashing through a door. There was terrible video footage of Anele Tembe huddled in a heap, going, "I want my mommy, I want my mommy," in a room that looks like it's been absolutely trashed. There's clearly violence and fighting between the two of them. There are photographs of AKA with this bruise and gash in the top of his eyebrow, where Anele Tembe has allegedly hit him with one of his awards. I mean, the amount of footage out there of a toxic and violent relationship is not even debatable.
AKA was assassinated. Are you linking the dots in terms of Anele's fateful end and the assassination?
Well, I mean, social media has been on fire with those kinds of allegations. I cannot say why AKA was killed. I've got a chapter in saying who killed AKA. I have got a chapter, and I go through a list of the kind of suspects, of possible suspects. I think that the trial, hopefully that's, it's taking place in the Durban court right now. Hopefully more truth will be revealed. I'm not in a position to say who killed AKA. I think that's the million-dollar question. It's almost like who killed JR. It's got that type of almost cultural importance. And I think that the story is attracting so much attention because we don't actually know. We don't actually know who killed or if Anele Tembe was pushed or whether she jumped at this stage, because the inquest hasn't started yet, which it keeps getting delayed, by the way. I mean, it was supposed to start last week or 2 weeks ago, and the inquest into Anele Tembe's death has once again been delayed. The murder trial for AKA and Tibbs, his friend Tibbs, who was also killed in the crossfire, that's seems to be in the early stages. So, yeah, I mean, I keep saying, and I'm not trying to just force everyone to read the book, but go and read the book, because you're going to get as close to what I believe is the truth. And remember, I'm subjective. I'm a journalist who's written a book with an objectivity, but always seen through my eyes.
Sure. You've given your age away just with that little comment, Melinda
With
Ferguson.
JR.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, Joe was like, who's JR? J.R. Ewing, of course, you are referring to, and I think that's above the heads of a lot of people this afternoon. But that was the big intrigue of the 80s, wasn't it? When J.R. Ewing was killed. Who killed J.R.? What I'm hoping for, because I'm interested in this court case, obviously, is that the kind of access to information, the discoveries that you have made, the witnesses that have come forward are also contained in the case of the police.
Well, yes. I mean, Rob has told me that his witness statement disappeared. You know, you have to ask. There's a lot of stuff that goes around the death of Anele Tembe that one has to say, 3 years ago this girl died. Why was there not, in my mind, a proper investigation? Why have the Tembe family had to try over and over again to get some kind of inquest? At the time, it was like the NPA in the Western Cape didn't believe that there was a reason to kind of prosecute or arrest anybody. There's so many weird things around this case. You know, I'm hoping that at last we'll get some truth. I'm trying to tell the truth. I don't have all the answers. The trial is still on. I didn't try and write a book that was going to tie all the loose ends together, because there's another book. Yeah. Someone else can write that, because At this point, I'm not sure if I'll ever write another word in my life again.
So you're saying that you have a couple of suspects and you name them in the book as well. So I assume then the focus on that fateful night in April 2021 when Anele fell or was pushed to her death, you are suggesting could be a reason for the assassination. What other reasons exist?
Well, you know, AKA was a big mouth. I mean, he was brilliant. He was talented. He was a genius producer. He was a genius MC. He was probably South Africa's most successful hip-hop star. But he made a lot of errors in his life. He had big beef with Casper. I don't think Casper Nyovest had anything to do with AKA dying. There were a lot of Nigerians who were very angry with him when he seemed to have this beef with a guy called Burna Boy. There were also ideas that the club Underworld might have had something to do with it, because he bought into a club in Durban, and there were allegations that he owed money. There were allegations that he made very bad business enemies, that he owed people money. So there was also another allegation that a group of very angry GBV women, activist women, had hired Nkabi to take him out. And so I think these are all interesting ideas around who killed AKA. But I mean, obviously, I don't know who did.
Wow. I mean, all of those motives will make for interesting books.
Mm.
And they all contained in one book.
Women one. I mean, that's the one I think is the most interesting, is that women just have had enough. And the thing is, in my book, I also have a chapter about Oscar and Reva, Anele and Kiernan AKA, meaning anyone who doesn't know that Lynne Forbes is AKA. And just the similarities in a way between Reva and Anele. They were both very feisty girls, very opinionated, very strong women. Oscar and Kiernan were both big celebrities. Yes. I find the idea of how, as a public, we have enabled toxic masculinity, and that word is always, it's used a lot. It's a word that kind of is rife in hip-hop. It's rife in athletics. A hero, Oscar, a hero, AKA, and these kind of guys, their behavior, which was clearly toxic, the public never calling them out, really. Everyone just kind of heroifying this type of very unhealthy and ill behavior.
Yeah, I think that's important. Ego-driven craziness, really. So you've not received any death threats yet, have you?
Oh, I have. I mean, I've been getting a lot of stuff. I don't have death threats. I haven't had something posted in my letterbox yet, but I have had people tagging me onto the Kaba brother, the taxi family's taxi page, saying this woman is causing trouble for not. People putting up pictures of guns, going, "This is, you better watch your back." So, I mean, I'm not feeling 100% great at the moment, because it feels like I've opened a hornet's nest. I did not have any idea that it would elicit so much furore before it was even on the shelf.
Yeah, I can imagine. And just tell me, the book must be selling well.
I have no idea. It's only just come out. The thing is, I want to say one thing. People were saying, oh, she's going to make billions, millions. In South Africa, publishing is really a niche commercial enterprise. We are lucky if we sell 3,000 to 5,000 books. These are considered to be South African bestsellers.
Sure.
So the idea that I've been motivated by money to make all these millions, I wish people understood that book publishing in South Africa is very niche. It's hardly ever profitable. And hopefully the book will be read. But you know what? The jury's out on that one. I don't know.
Melinda Ferguson Books is the publisher. It was released in April 2024. We're chatting with the author, Melinda Ferguson. In fact, we've got to wrap it up right there. Unfortunately, Melinda, I think there's a lot of reason there for you to get the book. When Love Kills, the tragic tale of AKA and Anele, written by Melinda. The story, of course, of AKA, whose life unraveled when he embarked on that relationship with 21-year-old Anele Tembe, and he was assassinated recently as well. You may be keen to get it.